And then the last one here is that obviously the escrow title related documents. I mean, generally speaking, this is not something you as a borrower really have to worry about. It's something that the bank or the lender will reach out to escrow title and obtain. But one of the things is, you definitely have to work out the purchase price allocation between the buyer and the seller in a purchase transaction or a business purchase transaction. That's one of those documents that we utilize in our analysis, and a lot of times it's not done until the very, very end. And so, it's just one of those things I wanted to mention to, it's something that you should keep in mind and definitely start preparing a little bit earlier in the process, which will then help the lender really just have that information and utilize in their analysis of that in their underwriting, right? So, as I mentioned, I mean, these are really just a quick overview of some of the key documents that are generally required for majority of SBA financing. So even just having all of these documents ready for your lender is going to significantly help you cut down on the time that the lender takes in processing your loan. So I hope that was helpful. And if you have any questions, please feel free to ask during the Q&A session.
Yeah. Thanks very much, Harrison. That was very comprehensive, I think, and insightful. So I know we have some questions. We certainly have questions going forward, I'm sure, in email, but we have some now, perhaps. And Paul, if you could orchestrate starting with the first question.
Okay, what loans are available for those of us that need help with payroll?
I mean, I think the question is a little bit vague. When you say payroll, generally speaking, we would look at that as kind of working capital, right? So if you're looking for working capital financing for your business, a 7A product would probably be your best bet in this case. But, I think it's very situational, so it's hard for me to just specifically say that would be the best option. If you're, for example, if the question is because maybe your business was impacted by COVID and, you're kind of having a difficult time making payroll, then maybe the 7A isn't the best product because you still have to have sufficient cash flow in order to qualify for SBA financing. So in that case, maybe the EIDL loan or, some of these other supporting options available could be a better option. So I mean, I think the question was a little bit vague. Ron, if you have something you want to add to that.
Yeah, on that note, economic injury disaster loan, the COVID-19 portion had closed off December 31st. Now, if you had a loan in and you used that proceed and you want to go back in for an increase, you're still able to do that. That is, again, those particular loans, when you say COVID idle, those loans are really focused on working capital. So that would be an option if you've already applied by December 31st and you need additional money, that is a possibility for an increase. The other thing is a microloan might well do it too, because with that very small, under 50,000, depending on how much money you need, the broader credit box and the like. So that's another option. Matt may have another suggestion, but I think the other thing I wanted to mention in this regard, because we always talk about trade-off 504 and 7A. And many times it's both, because you have that 504 loan and you need some working capital along with that major, maybe larger loan involving commercial real estate. So I think they can companion very nicely. I try to sidebar a little bit on that. Not quite, a little bit off topic, but I wanted to mention that. Next question.
Well, I think we only have one more that's relevant to what we're talking about. This is of interest. Do you have programs for mortgage loan originators licensed in California to offer loan programs through approved lenders and receive compensation?
I could try this one. There is a form that SBA requires that we collect in the event that we're going to give out a referral fee to, let's say, a mortgage broker, loan broker, an agent, quote unquote, based on SBA's definition. And you need to allocate sort of a time spent. Typically it's kind of a percentage figure. You're going to sort of need to back into an hourly going rate. So yeah, I think if you want to get paid out by an SBA lender on a referral side of things, you need to fill out a 159 Otherwise, it's under the table and problematic. But there isn't a specific licensing. Now, if SBA has a problem with a particular agent, again, quote unquote, they will be referenced on the debarment lists as to not be able to do business with the federal government. And so anytime an SBA lender works with an agent that's looking for, a reciprocal referral fee, we need to check that list to make certain that they're still in the federal government's good graces, and then we're happy to oblige.
Good answer, Matt.
One last question here. Is there a complete checklist for these programs that people can use as a reference?
I mean, as I kind of mentioned, as I was going through the documentation requirements, there isn't like one complete list because of how different each transaction can be. Like I mentioned, a lot of these document requirements will differ based on the type of transaction that you are looking for. So one of the things that I would recommend is if you are looking for a loan for a specific purpose and you're just starting out your search for financing, I would say one of the best things that you can do is reach out to a lender nearby. And, that may not be the lender you end up going with at the very end. And, you may have other resources, or you may find better offers from other lenders, or whatever it may be. But I would say reach out to a lender and say, hey, I'm looking for a loan that's going to be, I'm looking to buy this business, or I'm looking to buy this property to do this, or I'm looking to refinance my loan. And if you tell the lender and you ask them, hey, what kind of documentation should I start preparing? I'm sure all the lenders out there, and especially speaking for myself as part of United Business Bank, if you reach out to me and ask for help in terms of, hey, I'm looking for this loan, what should I start preparing? We have no problems just preparing a quick, simple list of documentation that you would need to get that transaction completed. So by the time, you find the property you're trying to purchase, or you finalize what you want to do, or what sort of financing you want to receive, in that time you could work on those documents and have it essentially all prepared and submit it to your lender for it to be processed, right? I mean, if you're looking for a general list of documentation, I'm sure, I can probably prepare one and just maybe share it with Ron for it to be posted somewhere. But it's just there's just such a wide variety of documentation that is required depending on what sort of entity you have, depending on what sort of transaction you're going through. Is it a franchise? Is it, are you operating from a lease location? I mean, it's just so much variety in what we do that it's really hard for us to prepare a list that's only going to really include the things that you would need to prepare, and will likely require or have on the list so many other documents that you likely won't need for your type of transaction. So it's a little bit difficult to have just a one comprehensive list, right? So yeah, that would be my suggestion. Matt, I mean, if you have anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, I echo that entirely. Yeah, it's tough. I mean, we don't necessarily know going into it who owns the business, right? I mean, if you own 20% or more, you're subject to scrutiny. We don't necessarily know what other affiliated businesses you would have. And so it is exceedingly difficult to have sort of a one-size-fits-all checklist that would cover any and all contingencies. It would be unruly. It would probably be 10 pages if that were the case. So yeah, I echo what Harrison's saying with respect to reach out to your lender. They'll help you walk through the paces. You start with business tax returns. It'll show ownership. You'll look at personal tax returns to find out if there are other closely held entities that need to be scrutinized. Yeah, I echo it 100%.
Very good. We have one question just appeared.
I'd like to say one other thing on that subject, Paul, and that is take advantage of our resource partners too, because they can kind of go through, they have experience in working with the lenders and finding out maybe what lender is going to fit best. So, whether it be SCORE, Small Business Development Center, these resources would allow you to go face-to-face, sit down, kind of have that discussion. And then obviously don't hesitate to contact your lender either, but the more information you have, there's some other sources they may recommend as well. That is these resource partners. Take advantage of that. You can also, if you would email me directly, ronald.galati@sba.gov, if someone could post that in the Q&A announcement section. I've done it many times. People have asked me, what are the steps do I follow? And I'll give you some, general information and some links that will help in that process. But I concur that, with the listing of any particular requirements for any one loan, your lenders are probably going to ultimately be the best bet.
I'm sorry, there's a question that appeared. If you got a loan already for idle, can you still get a loan for the 504 certified development?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, we've got several borrowers that have gotten idle, had a 504, got several rounds of PPP. So yeah, you're not precluded.
And I believe too, Matt, the point on that would be it doesn't take up your requirement on your $5 million max on terms of your guarantee.
Correct.
So if you had a loan for $1 million from idle, and you want to go out and get a 504 loan for the $5 million, you wouldn't be boxed in at the $5 million total for an SBA guarantee. You could go all the way up to the $5 million.
Right. The one caveat being, obviously, you would need to be current on that idle loan. I mean, I understand there's deferment at the outset, depending upon when you applied and got your proceeds. If you're not current on an SBA product, you're going to have difficulty getting another SBA product down the line.
Good point. So with that said, I again want to thank our guests, Matt Davis, president of Southland EDC, and of course Harrison Lee and Noctin, and I believe Michelle were also on. We want to thank you for being with us and sharing your expertise. And don't forget to reach out to these various people in the future to just make sure you can get down and understand a little bit more detail about these programs, and obviously, hopefully, they satisfy your needs and you can move your business on in growth and future success. So, with that, again, thanks, Matt. Thanks, Harrison, and thanks to all of our team. Have a good afternoon.
Thank you, Ron.
You're welcome.